I have a question for you, and I'm probably going to not like the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I take credit for something in your movie sometimes, but I always do it with a grain of salt that I'm like, this is my memory of what happened, but it could be wrong. But okay, the biker scene.
Yeah.
Okay, the biker scene. My memory of the biker sequence is that we were having a meeting with wardrobe, and it was like, okay, well, what are we gonna do for biker? Like, what is the costume gonna be? And somehow in that meeting, we landed on, wait, what if you show up in like 10 speed biker and I show up like Harley biker, and then we get there, we're like, oh, and then it wasn't like that in the script. Did I make that up?
One never can really know because it's funny, I tell stories all the time and Heffernan's like, that's not what happened. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, it did happen. And he goes, no, it happened this way. And you're like, did it happen that way?
Maybe I just
I've
need like
told
a copy of the OG script to look at it because in my
I've
mind
told
that's what happened, but maybe I made it up.
I've told stories where everyone's like, you weren't even there. You were in Arizona. And I'm like, was I? So,
Okay.
look, I'll tell you what I think happened.
Okay.
And this is interesting because I was such a new filmmaker that I didn't realize that I had to have a meeting with wardrobe where every question they had to be answered.
Right.
And I was like, it's a biker. I don't know. It's obviously motorcycle biker. What are we going to fucking put them in biking outfits? They're dressed like they're two motorcycle bikers, quite obviously. But I never had a meeting with Melissa, who
Right.
was and I'm like, I guess somehow we made a movie without this meeting. And she showed up at at the set. We're shooting the scene that day. And she goes, we can go biker. And you come out dressed like Olivia Newton-John, every inch of it, babe, in Greece. And Paul is dressed like a dad in a biking hat. He goes, is this or this? And I
Yeah.
was like, God damn, that is so fucking funny.
It's so funny.
That is so funny. And it never even occurred to me. And I don't know. I'm not going to take credit for it. I think somebody, maybe you, maybe somebody else said, couldn't it be both? And I'm
I
like,
think maybe that's what happened then. Maybe I was in a meeting with her and
yeah,
we were like, what about both? Because it
yeah.
is so funny and it tracks so much with his character to show up in like a dorky 10
Well,
speed
it's
biker.
it's it's exactly surprise, right? Like it's
Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
surprise that you don't see coming because you see him and he's dressed like a biker. You're like, the fuck is he doing? And then you walk in that leather and you're like, and he goes, biker. And you're like, and I think it's I mean, it is one of the greatest jokes we've ever told. And we had nothing to do with it, really. I mean,
Well,
none of us said anything.
then
Maybe you did, but we didn't. We
I
were
will
like, oh,
officially
God.
continue to take credit in that case. It's done.
I
It's
think you
done.
should. I think you should. I mean, because none of us came up with it. I can tell you that.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better because I have definitely dropped that in an interview or two, but always with the caveat that I'm like, this could be me just like making this up. I don't know. But in my mind, this happened. Okay, so I feel like you and I could talk for like 8 hours, but let's talk about Super Troopers 3 a little bit because, hey, it's coming out in a month.
Oh yeah, we're promoting it.
I laughed about you because I was like, "Do you remember we shot it with I mean, I personally had like the best time ever shooting that movie because I just felt like we're all just older enough to really appreciate how awesome it is to go get to go get to do this." And like, I don't know, I had more fun than I did the first time. I had so much fun. And there were more women there too, so I had like, buddies there, but it was so much fun. It was just and it's such a funny script and I couldn't have loved it more. And then you were off editing and I think I saw you when I went and shadowed you in Vancouver, but then also we were texting when you were editing and you were just like, this business, and now I don't have any time to do anything, and they're rushing me, and they're this, and then you were like on the roller coaster of like, it's so fun, it's so great that everything about the industry sucks. And like a month after that, it was done, and you guys had a screening, and it was very well received, and you were back out. You're like, okay, this industry is not that bad after all. But I feel like it's
It's
been
it's
a good run.
look. I mean, I think I've made 9 or 10 movies, right? And the number of people who've made that many is very few,
Yeah.
very few. A lot of people made 2 or 3.
And by
10,
the way,
you're
a
like,
lot of hit movies, not just bad movies, like
"No, I
good
appreciate
movies
that." But, you
made a
know,
lot of money.
the, and so I'm not really somebody who should complain all that much, and yet I do. You know, the reality is they made a lot of money on 1, made a lot of money on 2, and so when 3 came along, you're like, "Just give us the money to make
Yeah,
it."
yeah,
And the problem is that, all movie business moments are seen from multiple perspectives. Ours is, "Hey, you're so rich from the last 2, give us the money to make the movie, we'll make it great."
yeah.
Theirs is the movie business is in a free fall. We can only make sequels. It's a fucking miracle we're even getting to make yours,
Which is
but you got to
crazy.
make it for this much money
Yeah,
or else we
yeah,
can't make it. Regardless
yeah.
of all the money you made before, we've lost all that money on these last 5 movies that tanked.
All
And
the
you're like,
garbage you made without you lost all that
and you're like,
$1
okay.
million out the door.
Had Adrian Brody in it. What? How did it not? And you're like, okay. So who Adrian Brody, who I think is talented, but they're like, we need your movie to work, and you're like,
Yeah,
and but
no
so we had,
pressure, but
well, we had a movie that should have been shot in 35 days, and we had to shoot it in 29 days. So you're taking all that material and you're jamming it into a smaller amount of time to
totally.
execute it. And there's stunts and there are fights and there's sex scenes and there's drugs and there's, big jokes. I realize I'm shooting the movie. I'm like, oh my God, there are 11 people in this scene. So
Yeah, no,
every
I mean,
fucking person gets a shot. And you're like, well, that,
it I don't even understand how your brain works because I've shadowed you twice now, and when I shadowed you on Super Troopers 3, it was in that wedding sequence, and, it's such a skill that you have because you're so chill. I was, like, so stressed out for you. I'm like, there are so many people in this room and, like, 3 cameras and stunts, and you're just, like, moving across the room slowly, totally calm as a cucumber. I'm like, "This is outrageous. How are you not yelling at someone?" But you're
I'm,
very good at that.
I'm acting. I'm a Screen
Internally,
Actors
you're just
Guild
like,
card holding actor. And,
"Well, you are
I
nailing it."
I came to, I worked on a music video where the German director would just blow up at everybody. He was
Yeah.
yelling at it. It was just, yo, people are incompetent. And you're like, fuck. I mean, I'm like 22 and I'm like, Jesus. And I was near the production office and I just sort of sneak in and I shut the door. And
Don't get yelled
he's yelling and screaming and I'm standing there with the line producer. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, is there a pencil
stay
or
out of his
something?
way.
And so I'm pretending to look for a pencil, and I hear this guy yelling, and he slams into the office, and I'm like, "Fuck!" And he slams the door, and then he goes, and he looks at me, and goes, "They work faster if you yell at them."
No,
And I was like, and I'm like, "No,
that's
I'm
not
not.
your method.
This doesn't help anybody. This is not."
No.
I've been on sets where directors are like, "Yeah, motherfucker," and I'm
Yeah.
like, and you do a take, and they're like, "Moving on." And
Yeah.
you're like, I need to know if it was good. And they're like, it was good because you were moving on. You're like, that's not the way I like it either.
No, I know.
So I
Especially with
really am,
comedy, like, if people freeze up because they're stressed out that you're mad and that the time is running out
yeah,
or whatever, they're much less funny. I mean, that just doesn't work, like, to be
yes.
wound up.
Human beings who are acting they're like little monkeys. They're doing tricks, right? They want a little banana at the end of it. They're flattery operated, right? I mean, you're like, you fucking, you go in, you're like,
I'm gonna
God
steal that, that's so funny.
damn, that's Heffernan's line. Because it's such, you go in and you're like, what's it like to be so good looking? They're like, oh, yeah, I don't even know. And so funny. I mean, how do you do both? How do you get through life being this funny
Well,
and
now
this
I
good
know
looking?
when you told me that, you're full of shit. It's
Well, I
ruined.
think you're a babe. I mean, I cast you in the goddamn movie. You don't think I think you're hot? I mean, please. I even saw the Stuff magazine spread you did. Like we're all, we all know, and and so I like to make actors think everything's fine,
Yeah.
and if you want another take, we'll do another take. You want 2 takes, do it. If you have an
I mean,
idea that you think will make this performance a little better in your mind,
yeah,
and you leave going, yeah, I mean, he let me do another take, and he let me
yeah.
do another take, and I feel like, and he's like, say whatever you want, and I'm like, I said this, I think that was the best. you
Yeah.
feel good and you are
Yeah.
better and it is better. It's just it
It
doesn't do any good for
completely
me to yell.
works. Because I've obviously been on a million sets with screaming directors like that or
Yeah.
whatever, and people just like most actors, especially comedians, are freaking train wrecks on the inside and totally insecure and totally nervous about everything. And even when we were shooting that wedding sequence, there were a couple of people taking big swings and running around and doing, and you were like, it's fine. We'll do a little bit of everything. And then that's what editing's for. You were like, just whatever.
Well,
Let's try it all.
there were a couple comics in the movie who had to be the straight people, and they
Yeah.
were watching us have all the jokes. And they were like, "I thought we were gonna get to fucking crack all the jokes." I'm like, "You will. You will. At the end, the last couple scenes, you're gonna be able to crack all the jokes."
Yeah.
So they came into these scenes like, "Rah!" and just going so big. And I'm like, and Heffernan's like, "It's too big." I'm like, "I know, I know. Just let him
Yeah.
fucking roll around in the mud for a while." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, all right." I said, "So those are the biggest takes probably we're gonna do in this film." I said, "Let's put a cap on it and see if we can find just as funny a performance, which just has a little bit of a ceiling on it."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Okay, okay, okay, okay." And then they would start to fucking get into really good takes that were still funny with a ceiling on it.
Yeah.
Not too broad, we're not making Dumb and Dumber. Great film, but we're not making that. We're not making,
Totally.
some of these bigger films. We're just not doing
Yeah.
it. We're making this movie. We're not making
No,
Scary
it's
Movie. We're making
like
this
we
movie.
said, it's like a very narrow tone that is big, broad, funny, but also not the low hanging fruit, screaming, whatever, which is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
unique tone. I mean, I don't think other people would really know how to direct that. So,
Yeah, it's exact tone. This joke fits, this joke doesn't. And
yeah.
in that wedding, it was like there were hundreds of people and everybody had jokes, and
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
God.
I can feel the smoke coming out of my ears. I'm like,
Yeah.
but
But you do
it
not let
turned
on. I mean, remember, and there was
it
that
turned
guy,
out.
there was like that special effects that didn't work. Remember that? When he's frozen in that thing. And I
Yeah.
mean, so many directors would have yelled at that guy or would have sent him into like a tailspin of stress. And you were literally just like, okay, that's chill. Go figure that out. Go figure out how to make that work. And we're just going to move on and point the camera over here and do this shot. I was like, that's amazing because, that allowed him to actually go fix it and not be like
Yeah.
completely
Well, he's an
panicking.
artist. He's
Yeah,
everybody on that
totally,
set is an artist.
totally. Yeah,
And they're all like trying to please me.
yeah,
And this guy made these incredible models that didn't quite work at one
yeah.
moment. But he made these
So
other
talented.
models that worked so beautifully. And you're like,
Yeah,
this
yeah. He's
guy's
super talented.
incredible.
That dude.
I took
Yeah.
his name. I'm like,
No, he was
you and I are
so
gonna work
talented, but
again.
also the way you dealt with that was so good.